What's good, loyal ones? Look, stay tuned till the end of this video, okay? Because at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you a really good healing technique, okay? A really, really good way to release your anger, okay? So you don't want to miss that. So stay tuned throughout the whole video, okay? So, ever since I was a kid, I was basically programmed by my dad, making me believe that letting my anger out was a bad thing, okay? When I was a kid and I used to cry or I used to yell, he used to yell at me and just get so mad and just tell me to stop yelling, tell me to stop crying, and so I just, believed that, expressing my anger, my emotions of anger was bad, and it's not his fault because he was programmed too by his dad. I remember when we didn't have nowhere to live, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother and sister, we all went to live with my grandma and my grandpa. And my grandpa, whenever we used to cry or throw a tantrum or whatever, he used to whoop us to the point where the neighbors would call the police. And of course my dad, he taught us to not talk to no police or snitch on my grandpa. But yeah, so I was just so deeply programmed that, expressing my anger and letting my anger out was a bad thing, okay? So I've just, every time I would feel some type of way and I would be mad about a situation, I would just shove that shit down, when I wasn't feeling right or I had some type of anger or anything was bugging me, I would just push that shit all the way the fuck down. So then we got to the point where it needed to come out, so any little thing would just trigger it to come out, and when it would come out bad. When it used to come out so bad where I pulled knives out on people, I put hands on people, I fucking used to just pick whatever the fuck up in my face and throw that shit when I would get mad because I had so much anger in me that needed to come out. Okay, when you hold anger in, it's gonna have to come out eventually, and it's gonna come out bad if you hold it in. So that's why any little anger that you have, you need to release it. You really need to release it, okay? And anger causes diseases and blockages in your body, okay? If you don't get that anger up out of you, you're blocking yourself from receiving love, real love, and being, just on the divine vibration, okay? And, tears are one of the only ways that you could release the stress cortisol, and you get that shit out by crying. You need to cry in order to release that shit, so you gotta let that shit out. It is very, very, very important to let your anger out. People trip out on me because when my son starts crying or getting mad or yelling or whatever, they're looking at me, expecting me to do something, waiting for me to do something, and I don't do shit. I just let him get that shit out. You want to throw a tantrum? I don't give a fuck. Let that shit the fuck out. It is what it is, and he feels better after he does, like most kids do. When kids throw tantrums, when they let it out, they feel better. And that's what we're supposed to do. When we're not feeling good and we're feeling a certain emotion, we're supposed to let it out, and then we'll feel so much better. When you let your anger out, you feel light. When you have anger stuff down in there, you can't even be at your highest self. So when people are going through their spiritual awakening, is when the anger starts to come out. Is when they have to face their anger and deal with their anger, their shadow side, okay? And when I first started my spiritual awakening, I was all about positivity. I was just about being positive, not being negative no more, not being crazy, how people said I was for yelling and yelling all the time because, just having so much anger in me, I used to yell a lot, you know what I mean? And I would get mad and it would get bad. It would be a bad mad because just having that shit in too long. But So when I started my spiritual awakening, I didn't want to do that no more. I just wanted to be a positive person, happy all the time and positive all the time, to the point where, I really did just shove more of those emotions down, and I ignored them. Like a lot of people do. A lot of people ignore those emotions and they just forget about them, and they use drugs or alcohol or sex to help deal with that shit. Instead of letting it out, they use that shit to cope and deal and thinking that's gonna heal their anger. Okay, but no, that's not it. Okay, so I used to ignore that shit so much to the point where I just started to become numb. Like I just started to become numb to all emotions and feelings, where I couldn't even be myself anymore. I didn't even feel like myself anymore. I just felt like I was just like walking around like a fucking zombie, like just ignoring that shit and not dealing with my emotions really made me numb. Until now, when I'm starting to work on my shadow self, my shadow side, and heal my inner child, now all that shit's coming up now and trying to get the fuck about so the light can shine, because the light is being blocked by all the anger. The light cannot come out and radiate out you until you release the anger. Okay, so this is the healing method that I wanted to show you guys. There's so many different healing methods though. If you need to fucking just go somewhere and just scream and let it all out, scream in your car with your windows up so no one will hear you, whatever you gotta do. Animals, whenever they get into like an intense situation, they come out and they just like shake that shit off, because we're supposed to shake that shit off. So we need to just shake our bodies and get that shit the fuck off. Literally shake that shit the fuck off of you. That's what the fuck you gotta motherfucking do. Okay? Alright? And this is a really, really good healing technique that I'm gonna show you. So I got me a stick. Okay, you could get any stick of your choice, small, medium, large, it don't motherfucking matter. This healing method I learned from an amazing healer herself, and she did the same thing. She was mad because she was programmed for so long, just like me. I'm mad, and I'm gonna let this shit out. However many things you have, you need to let out. You're gonna get that many different sticks. For this stick, I'm mad because I believed so long that it was bad and negative to let my anger out. And right now, I'm gonna let that shit all the way the fuck out, just like this. And you go to town, all right? And that's how it's done. I felt so much better. So much more light. Like all that shit got up out of me for so long, and I was programmed that shit. I feel better. Peace, loved ones.